Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is me Sindhu Sanwar from Greenwich University live. As you know that we've started our initiative again from, this time it's a little different setting. I'm calling and I'm right now in front of you guys live from the Greenwich University itself. This pandemic has been, I would say, the most amazing change in my life in terms of that it has brought so many different educationists together when it comes to live sessions. Greenwich University has, I would say, been the first pioneer in terms of bringing everyone forward in the live sessions, and we take a lot of courage and I would say a lot of a feeling of pride that we were the first ones who started this initiative. So, when it comes to today, I have another great educationist with me on board. And before I introduce him, let me just quickly tell you guys the slogan or the main idea of the show, that is ReImaging Education. So, what do we mean by ReImaging Education? Anything that revolves around education, careers, professions has to have innovation, has to have progression. And that is what we want when it comes to Greenwich University. Our vision is not making everything just the same way it's been done. Always innovating something or creating something so different that once a graduate or anybody who takes part in Greenwich University, when they go out from the university, they can actually be proud about the fact that they've learned a very different method or skill or a profession that's going to help them in their future. So today I call on with me on the live show Sir Taymur Mirza. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Alaikum salam. I'm very well, Sundar, and thank you for inviting me.
Great. The pleasure is all mine, to be honest. You've been amazing when it comes to, calm and patience. You've been very patient, so I really appreciate that. And greetings from Greenwich University from our side. Let me introduce you a little, and then afterwards you can give your better introduction. Sir Taimur is actually a BA in mathematics from Rutgers University, USA, MA in Applied Educational Leadership and Management from IOE, UK. And right now, you are you've established the first international baccalaureate system, World School in Pakistan. So now it's up to you, sir. Can you please give us a little better, introduction about you?
Thank you, Sundar, for the brief introduction. Um, you're absolutely correct. Uh, back in 1996, we established the first IB World School in Pakistan, and people ask the reason why we did that. Why is it that IB was board system? Is because back then, even 25 years ago, we could see that the world was changing. It was innovating itself. Education was innovating itself, and the world itself was demanding a very different kind of a mindset or different kind of a person to fit in the 21st century. When you talk about the biggest contribution factor since then and now, obviously the inset of the internet and the wonderful things it's brought and changed how we live and we see the world. So all the way from holding this live session with you or interview session with you is a product of the introduction of the internet, and so is the role social media plays in our lives. Now, social media plays a major role in our lives. So one thing the internet has done is has made knowledge very accessible. When knowledge becomes very accessible, a couple of things happens in the education arena. Number one is knowledge. Because of the internet, knowledge is upgraded or upgraded as it happens. So when you publish textbooks as soon as they're published, they're outdated, because obviously there's new innovation, there's new finding, there are new theories, there are new laws, there's something more to add, and that is available on the internet. So the textbook itself became a vehicle for education that was becoming outdated as soon as it was printed. So and so knowledge, the internet provided the access to knowledge. So what skill set was then demanded of people who were having getting this access to education? But primarily it was about the application of this information and to be able to judge and ascertain the quality of knowledge that was out there. Now, it's said that the internet is as much a source of information as disinformation. So a lot that's out there is also disinformation, and so then you had to equip somebody to live in the 21st century had to have the ability to be able to tell that this is true and this is not true, and that requires a certain level of skill set. Like you have to have very be research oriented, and you have to be able to source and check the sources of the knowledge and information. That skill set needed to be taught to young minds, and that's where the education for the 21st century started moving towards a very research oriented. Now, obviously, when you research oriented and you have the information, one has to look at the knowledge itself, and the knowledge itself, and then have the skill set for the 21st century skills to do that. So but when you question a knowledge, you start with certain inquiry. You have to
Yeah.
ask the right questions to find the right answers. If you don't ask the right questions, the right answers, you can't chart out the path to know whether so that piece of knowledge is true or not true. So that in itself is a skill set, to ask the right
Mm.
questions and then to find the right answers. That's looking at these factors and how things would happen back then. IB system was something that was equipping children all the way from age 3 onwards to inquire, to ask questions, and what skills. Anyone who's gone through this cycle of asking questions and
Yeah.
answering the now realizes that by asking one question and try to find the answer to that one question, you ask many more questions. So one question leads to more questions, leads to more answers, and one can easily get lost in that web of research. So the research is a skill that's paramount to the IB system and the IB education, and it all stems from inquiry, and the understanding of the concepts in that's being shared in the knowledge. That's something.
Uh,
So
so Taimur, talking about inquiry, knowledge, research, as you know, most of them go hand in hand, and we see a number of things that are there, and we have to inculcate something or the other. So I myself have personally been an IB teacher, so I know that how the system works. That how we start off with inquiry, and to be honest, I would second you in terms of right asking the right question, because this skill set, if we develop in us, our conversations become more fruitful. When we go forward in our practical life, if we are able to, ask the right question at the right time, so I think it kind of solves a lot of problems, and, it makes everything easier. So let's talk about Pakistan's educational system. What is your stance on that? And why did you take this step forward to bringing IB? Because IB requires a proper certification. So stepping up into this big game, in this practical game, required a lot of, I would say manpower, and then I would say, what should I say, a team power as well. So how did you do it?
look, it's very simple. The world over, you you always, and it's very true when you keep on hearing that Pakistan has a lot of talent, right?
True.
So there's talent everywhere in Pakistan. And so you just have to find people who understand and believe in your vision, mission, have the passion for it, and then you've got to provide the necessary training and exposure in that field. So with the talent out there, that's precisely what we did. Is we believed that there was talent out there in Pakistan. We just had to find that talent, then train that talent, and IB provides the necessary training for talent. And then there's a support system. So IB, like you said, the certification, the difference between IB and other systems is also is that it just not doesn't give you an examination system. It gives the entire support system. So it's like a global village where teachers from all over the world share their resources, share their best practices to inform you in how to bring the IBness into your classroom. So talent is there. You expose the talent to training. You expose the talent to support systems out there, and then the rest is magic. It's just magic just happens. But but the key factor being in that the people who are implementing and practicing like you or other members who spend some time in teaching IB have to have a passion for it. because being an IB teacher, as I'm sure you will agree, is not an easy job. It's not
No,
easy because you've got to be constantly creative. And
constant.
when you are in the classroom and you manage the classroom, you've got to let the students uh, ask, inquire, and ask questions. And they could be
True.
anything, everything, and it could be a tangent that takes in a different direction. But that's where the student learning agency, the student agency is very key. So sometimes overpowers the teacher and the units of the lessons they plan. That's the whole the dynamism of the IB is what creates a learning environment
And
where everybody, all minds in there are learning. So students are learning through asking questions, and
hmm,
the feedback that I've got from teachers is the teachers find it very alive as well. Because
because you see, when I was, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you out, because even when I was a teacher, what I saw was great change in classroom setting. Why? Because when I am teaching them,
yeah,
specifically them being in IB school, they were required to have skill sets that were the learner profiles that they used to have. They were so aligned with how they're going to form themselves as a complete I would say aspect of their life. They were getting amalgamated like that. So for us, even when it comes to students, or I would say when it comes to different teacher setting, we've seen great change when it comes to student agency, because student agency is something that takes you to a whole next level. It
yeah.
takes your classroom setting, it takes the students to a whole different level. So what do you have to say about that? Because student agency is not easy to give. It
No,
requires a lot of training.
not only that, it's not about only to give. Also, is how did the culture accept it? Now, we education system very raw and roughly is about opening the textbook, reading the necessary reading material, and then just do the exercises. So our education system boils down to that, which means that student has copious amount of work written out in their copies. Parents can identify that, and they want to see the textbook. They want to see that the student comes home with the copies filled out with some work, and they measure and they gauge that as education. And as you know,
True.
the IB it's completely different. IB, the majority of the education and the learning is intangible. It happens in the classroom, in the experience of the classroom, which is not entirely visible to the parent. So sometimes the parent then questions is what is the school doing and what is my child developing or not developing.
Yes,
So
so true.
this one of the greatest challenge even today is that the acceptability and understanding of our culture and our community and our parents.
And then honestly saying, don't you think there should be more awareness sessions or more counseling session when it comes to student parent body? Because see, everything when it requires a little change, right? And specifically when it comes to IB as well, don't you think we should have more counseling sessions? Like, because see, even when the Cambridge board started in Pakistan, it took like a very big time for people to accept OA level system. So
Agreed.
when it comes to IB, I still think that being an IB teacher, that there should have been more counseling sessions for parents so that they can easily get it. And there's like a part, I specifically remember the exhibition. So I was a part of the exhibition as well. Uh, when there's an exhibition, they do, you can give me a better perspective to this, that when there's an exhibition in the IB system, in the last, they connect the parents with the students and they go hand by hand, they go together in it so that the relationship builds up, they understand, and we give autonomy to everyone. So it's like a triangle with the student, teacher, and parent. So what do you have to say when it comes to Pakistan? Where are we lacking in terms of the counseling of IB systems?
Look, the schools, the biggest, which I agree with you, the biggest ambassadors for the schools are actually parents. Parents only see the school through the eyes of the children, okay, and the behavior and the work of the children. When you talk about providing more and more sessions for parents to do that, Unfortunately, the only way the parents will ever understand the IB properly is by putting the children in the IB program. It's
Okay.
not no matter how many sessions we have, no matter sessions you have, it's going to be very difficult for a parent to completely understand what it is. Now, that said, parents whose kids have gone to the IB stay in the IB once they do that. Once they've understood it, then they can see the difference between that. But the initial exposure, the initial step has to be taken by the parents for them to get a greater understanding. And you know the exhibition you mentioned the exhibition is in only the final year of the primary years program.
Yeah.
that hap- that happens in when the kids are 10 years old to 11 years old. That's when they actually do the exhibition, and it's the culmination activity of the primary years, which is for them to exhibit their understanding of inquiry, understanding of the learner profile, all the elements of IB that are there, and to use their own agency to research something of interest to them. And they exhibit their IB learning. And yes, it's a place where students do showcase it to the community, which includes the parents, um, the IBness of the factor. But even besides that, uh, the teachers themselves, when because you know that it's transdisciplinary. So teaching
Yes.
happens where a teacher in a unit, all subjects need to contribute to a particular unit in the development and the learning of the child. So every single subject. So it comes together. The unit, one unit, whatever you choose as something that is a focus of learning for the next 4 to 6 weeks, is then contributed to by all the other subjects in the classroom. So for that, there is a mind map. There is a lot of prep done by the teacher to share that in the learning. These are the guiding questions. This is what the students will be questioning and trying to find the answers to. But
Hmm.
in the journey of the 4 to 5 6 journey, this subject will the concepts in this subject will be taught will be this these and this subject will be these. So science, social studies, mathematics, English, Urdu, all the languages. So they have this mind map where the parent is well aware of all that's going to be taught under that subject. So each subject is given its due attention and role in terms of the child's development in the focus of the. So you can see that there's a lot of dynamism that happens there, and the teacher is the key in
Hmm.
enrolling this team. So parent
It's a very big umbrella. So it's a very, very big umbrella when it comes to transdisciplinary theme, transdisciplinary learning. If I am a parent and I want to ask you that, what do you mean by that? How can you make me understand this in a simple way?
look. Um, when when supposing we just take a certain element of the world we live in is
Hmm.
supposing that it's the focal point. Under the world we live in, you want to maybe visit something of place the solar system first.
Okay.
That's the focus. That's where you're moving towards. Now, the solar system is primarily taught under science,
Yes.
right? In our traditional system, it's taught
Hmm.
under science.
Hmm.
So the idea is that fine, that's the key role that it will play, but then other subjects also contribute to the learning of it. So
Hmm.
you might make them do some activities where mathematics comes in. So for example, you can talk about planetary distances. You can talk about the orbit factor. You can talk about the shape of the planets, and then you look at the matter. If it's the age group is there, you can do the volumes of the space. You can do distances there, the curvature of it, uh, and so you bring mathematics in there as well.
True.
So science might do that just very superficially. Here you can go into depth about finding the links for mathematics. So,
Yes.
in other words, also you can talk about how then you talk about the moon. Then there's a Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
There's a lunar calendar. You can bring in the geography, history, and how the moon plays a major role in some cultures and religions. in terms of this celebration and annual events. So you see, you can just spin this off into other areas of social sciences studies as well. So this is
Mm,
where variations of the so you can see that how all subjects starts contributing to just the study of or something that you're investigating on the solar
mm.
system, and
True,
that's the whole
true.
aspect.
Uh,
So the children themselves can see that the learning of a particular discipline subject is not compartmentalized into one area. So
yes,
all everything starts contributing to the learning in there. And this is a even now, mashallah, you're working, you're in an organization. So in school, if you went to a traditional school, you would have done these subjects in the
yes,
compartment. But in the work environment, it's you're using everything. You're
so
using
true.
all that. You're using all that. So what IB is doing is exposing you to this idea much earlier at the age of 3 onwards. Although all the way from 3 to 18, it exposes you to this idea about learning is not about compartmentalized learning these English or the mathematics, social sciences, but it's about culminating all that for your learning. And that transdisciplinary element strengthens the learning process. And that's innovation right there. And it's
I
only
have
when
to see. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you out. So when it comes to this idea that you put everything in one umbrella and you put it all together, I love the fact that if they prepare the students at a very very young age, because even when my students were getting through different themes, they were able to take way much more of what can I say, experience than usually people do. So when it comes to people, and when it comes to what should I say, their perspective, one thing that parents always have as a question, and specifically when I even was having my daughter there in the IB system, I always had this question as well. So what future IB holds? How does one complete IB system learning? What are the progresses? For example, you just told us about primary years. Then what is next? How do they go? Can you tell us the whole?
The primary years program that you were a teacher of takes a child ages it goes from ages 3 to 11,
Hmm.
which is I think about class 5 or 6 there. Then comes something called the middle years program. Middle years program goes to 6 to 11. At the end of the middle years program, in the fifth year of the middle programs, they do some assessments. They do some assessments, which IB does some examination and all that and assessments, and then they provide something called the MYP certificate, which is
Yeah.
equivalent to the O levels or metric. Then there is the last 2 years. Then afterwards, the next progression is the 16 to 18 IB diploma program, which is equivalent to the A levels of FSC. So that
Okay.
becomes this question is there. So what future does IB hold? Well, world over, it's now offering you something from ages 3 to 18, an education system that moves from age to 18 and provides you certification that's globally accepted to get admission into universities and colleges. Therefore, kids are going to the IB system, graduating, and then moving towards universities and colleges from all over the world, including Pakistan. So
That's great.
that's one thing. And kids from our school have attended LUMS, IBA, Akhan Medical, Dow Medical, um, Ghulam Asad Khan Institute Engineering. So they get admissions. Now, I mean, that mentioned, yes, there is a process that you have to go through towards equivalency and getting all the documentation necessary to get admission. But students do go through that cycle, like very much OA levels as well. Students do that and they go forward. But so in terms of that, in terms of acceptability in university colleges and the transition from there is definitely IB has proved that it has a future there. But the only thing now left to remain is that students and parents start looking towards it as an alternative to other forms of study. That's it.
True, true. 100%. I think this session was extremely, extremely fruitful when it comes to a teacher who's, listening to you, because how we have the program of Bachelor's in Education at Greenwich University. We offer the B.Ed programs to specifically professional teachers who want to, accelerate in their careers, who want to get a more professional degree towards teaching. So they have these pointers where they, discuss that which different systems are prevailing in Pakistan, which different education systems are prevailing in Pakistan. So this can really help our teachers as well, or our students as well, in getting a more clearer perspective, especially coming from you. So I would like to thank you for that because it really helps in that term. Um,
Oh,
Sir, what do you think? Who, as a teacher, if for example I'm a graduate right now, I want to be an IB teacher. What's the process?
to be like, for example, there are universities and programs that have linked themselves, their bachelor's and masters to IB qualifications. So that's one thing. So you can ask the Greenwich University to maybe approach IB to link the bachelor's program and the master's program, so that it is sort of fine tuned to prepare one for an I as an IB. That's one route to look at it.
Mm.
The other route is that obviously you should read up and understand what an IB teacher is in your phone. Because social media is a place where you can get a lot of idea about what an IB teacher is. And then what it does is, to be an IB teacher, you have to be a teacher first. Okay? You have to know what it is to be a teacher. Once you know what it is to be a teacher, then afterwards, you can do some professional development courses with the IB organization to understand what it is to be an IB teacher. So,
Yeah,
to be an IB teacher, you got to be a teacher first. And that's one thing that's something of which
I
people,
love that.
yeah. So people. So what we look at is somebody who has to have a track record in some teaching profession in some way, in some shape or form. And then they have the passion and the creativity to drive a transdisciplinary learning. Okay, and then you can recognize that in a person. Once you
Yeah,
take the once, and it's not just we take the person on to take the challenge. The person also takes on the challenge to become an IB teacher, and then they would walk into the classroom. They understand that they have some senior teacher who becomes a mentor, who teach them how to become a IB teacher, and then there's professional development provided by the IB. Now,
mm,
back in the times before the corona or otherwise, uh, online training. There was only you had to travel to different cities in the world to go get a 3 day workshop on the first to be an
mm,
IB, and then he was
yes,
amongst a company of other IB teachers, and then you exchanged notes, and then you had a 3 day journey where you understood and that the understanding is always linked to a certain guide. That IB guide, IB has a particular guide, so you can search on Google, you can find some IB guides of a particular age group, and you can read that up, and then you can start applying to schools, get into schools that are IB schools, um, join the team, become an assistant teacher first, with the main homeroom teacher, start learning the ways that the person be the mentor, and then you start doing some IB workshop. Hopefully, the school provides the opportunity to do the workshops, and that's when you know the good.
okay. Thank you so much, Sir Temur. This session has been very fruitful, very, I would say, uh, knowledgeable, and it has made me an inquirer more when it comes to learning about IB. So anything, any last sentence or any last message that you want to give off before we sign off? I just want to say a lot of thank yous to you for coming up at this time. I know you have a
No,
very crazy busy schedule. Making up time was very sweet of you. So yeah,
so
over to you.
you talked about reimagining education. You talked about innovation and progression. I think that people need to understand and realize is that it's the 21st century happening. Education system that you work in or you choose for your children or your siblings or your cousins should prepare them for the 21st century. So the idea is to look to a program that is closest, so that you can give them the greatest exposure at an early age to be a member of the 21st century global society. Because children today, the internet has made the world into a much smaller place. That you're not only competing against students or schools within the classroom, within the school, or within the city. Now you are competing against people all over the world, and
True.
and and to do whatever that provides you the edge over the others in terms of that. One of the like for example in a school, not everyone gets high grades and does well. Not everyone does gets high grade and does well. And our society is very grade hungry.
Yeah.
They chase after the grade, then for the essence of learning. But we need to change. We need to change that culture as well. But but one thing is that in the school, the international school, a lot of kids have graduated and gone to university and college. And not everybody's done well. Some have done well, some have
Yeah.
not done well. Year to year, from child to child, student to student, and all depends on how much time they put in and how they manage their time and their experiences during their studies. One thing they've all said is that the moment they landed up in university, the IB prepared them, really prepared them because they
Yeah.
knew exactly from the day one is what was required of them. And what was required of them was ask the right questions, do the research, write a paper, and submit the paper. But so that's it. Give the children the edge to be successful and survive. And I think that one people need to start looking away to reimagine education. It starts by reimagining it in your head first. Each individual reimagines it and looks at it in the light of the world we live in. I think they'll find that they'll provide a better exposure for their own children and for their own siblings and family members, so that they become members
Yeah.
of society.
For sure. Thank you so much, Sir Timur. I would like to thank you on behalf of the whole Greenwich University for giving us time, giving us a little insight about, what IB is. And yeah, for me, it's a very big honor to honestly interview somebody who has stepped in the first time in this system, and being able to, have you on screen with me is like, I would say, another milestone that I've achieved in life. So thank you so
Well,
much. I really
very
appreciate.
kind, very kind,
And
very kind.
we look forward to getting you someday together with your students on Greenwich University, and we can have a one-on-one conversation with you guys too. Okay.
That's lovely. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate. Have a great day.
Thank
Okay.
you, Sundar.
So this was Sir Taymur Mirza with us. In respect to the conversation that we've had in the previous times as well, we've always focused on how we can change the face of education, and how we as educationists are having an education body right now in front of us, how we can be the key indicators or pointers who can change it. Greenwich University offers the bachelor's in education specifically to teachers so that they can educate themselves and be more better professionals in terms of their careers, and also the schools that they're going to get hired in can have quality teachers so they can produce quality students. That's how the cycle goes. uh, Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in with us today. We really appreciate the time and the effort you guys always give us and give us great support. It makes us really happy, and it shows that we can go forward in this, and we can put this reimaging education platform again. I would like to thank Ms. Seema Mughal for giving us the opportunity, our vice chancellor, that she has always been the person who has accelerated us, and now we're standing at a position where we are conducting things on our own. Sir Rab Nawaz, who has been a key indicator as well in getting the Reimaging Education program opened again, so that we can have the bigger umbrella opened one more time. Thank you. We will all meet again soon next week with another guest, and we will have another fruitful discussion about education and how we, as educators or educationists, can make our part in it. This is Misan Sanwar signing off. Allah Hafiz.